On this week's Growing, Eating, and Educating, NanBop Farm Director Jason Abraham has joined us in the studio. Good to have you back, Jason.
Yeah, and we heard we pulled you off a busy day on the farm. How are you doing?
Doing good. It's spring. Busy, always busy. So we're in the phase now where we're starting to get some plants out into the field. We've got some onions going in. We've got our potatoes getting cut open so that they can callus over and dry, and then we'll go ahead and plant those as well. But we have the whole hoop house is planted and ready to go, and so we're now out. We uncovered the mulch off of our garlic patch yesterday and took a look at that, and we're very excited. It's our first time growing garlic out here, so
Cool.
to see the success rate that we've had and what all's coming through was wonderful until the goats decided to start trying to eat some of it. So
yep.
the goats got in
Tasty
trouble
snack.
yesterday.
All right.
So we're prepping the field, we're tilling the soil, and we only till to a depth of about 3 inches. And you can see with the onion starts, they come bundled up. What happens is the ones we get came from Texas. They're grown early spring, and when they're big enough, they're pulled out of the ground, they go dormant, and they ship them up north.
Okay.
So that's how most people up north who have limited growth times can grow something like an onion that takes a lot of energy, a lot of nitrogen, a lot of feeding, and it's a high maintenance type product. But the maintenance you have to do isn't difficult, which is nice. So you have a lot to do. It's easy to do, but you just have a list of things to do to make sure your onions get off to a good start. Your potatoes are nice and deep and ready to go. The one thing I will say is, until between Mother's Day and Memorial Day, I would resist moving your mulch piles, removing mulch off of places that you want to start working in and start planting in, because you still have. In Michigan, we've got over 400 species of native bee, and most of those native bees hibernate on the ground. Most of them do not live in a hive. They live on the ground, under leaves, under debris, and so if you get in too soon and disturb them, you might mess up the early pollination. And one of the problems we've encountered, both in my experience in Colorado and then talking with Michael Stevens about what we've had issues here, is it's getting a little warmer a little earlier, but the last frost date doesn't move. So we get a little anxious. We want to get out in the field. We want to plant. We want to get things in the ground because it's beautiful. Like 2 days ago, it was absolutely gorgeous. But the one thing I will say is restraint and patience. April is a time.
That's 2 things.
Patience. If I have to pick one, I will say patience.
Okay.
Man,
Because
yeah.
if you get ahead of yourself and you put a bunch of investment in the ground, and you lose it because it freezes again.
Yeah.
You get a last freeze right before Memorial Day weekend. Of course, it's going to be gorgeous until then, and we'll get something late in May, and then you lose a bunch of stuff. So you really have to exert some patience and really focus on what you can do. If you have raised beds, go ahead and get your raised beds ready. Go ahead and pull the mulch off of those. Do your top tilling, prep those beds. A lot of times over the winter, especially a winter with as much snow as we had, you're going to get a lot of headspace showing up in your raised beds, and that's because of the compaction. So you're going to want to loosen that soil again, and then probably top that off with a real good potting soil or a raised bed soil. Throw a little fresh compost into that, so that when you do get planting, your nutrients are already there, your phosphorus is ready to be taken up, your nitrogen's ready to be taken up, and the plant's ready to go. We all fall into that trap of, it's a gorgeous weekend, I want to get outside in some shorts and a short sleeve shirt and enjoy the weather. But you can see here, it's hands and knees in the dirt at this time of the season. So, it's a lot of physical labor, but at the end of the day, we get all these onions in, we're trying to support multiple farmers markets, a very large, robust CSA. So we want to make sure we have everything in place going into the season so we're not playing catch up.
We've only got about a minute left, Jason, but I'm curious too. I know NanBop Farm has been around for several years, but do you have any sense of kind of historically what we see as far as a yield goes on crops? Is it always weather dependent? Are you, perhaps doing more this year than we've been able to do in the past?
So I guess last year we had a real early, warm, fast spring. So we got a lot of things in the ground early last year, paid the price on some of it. Some of it ended up dying off because of a late freeze. So what I've done this year is we've dramatically increased what we're putting in the ground in an attempt to create, I don't want to call it an abundance because there really is never an abundance.
Sure.
It's always going somewhere. But like I said, we're trying to support multiple avenues of getting this vegetable product out into the community here in Cadillac and up in Traverse City. And in order to do that, I've planted over 40 tomatoes. I've planted over 40 cucumbers. I've planted over 40 peppers, 50 peppers. So, you know, in times when we've had less than that, now we're trying to maximize as much as we possibly can. And a product like a tomato, the #1 grown vegetable here in the state, you know, you get them in the ground now, and in a couple more weeks, you start getting some good growth. You can leave your flowers on. But right now, if you're transplanting that you purchased from a store, or if you transplant that you started in your own, indoor garden to get a jump, pick off those little flowers. They're not ready to support fruit yet.
Okay.
They're just kind of being tricked by the fact that they're being grown indoors, and they're like, oh, I have great conditions. I'm going to start growing fruit.
68 degrees.
100%, 68 degrees, water every day.
Where can we expect to see the NanBop products? What farmers markets are we talking about?
So we are doing the Sarah Hardy up in Traverse City.
Okay.
That is a Wednesday and a Saturday market.
Yep.
We are in the process of putting together potentially a market here on the farm itself as well this year.
Oh, okay.
And then we also have our CSA program that you can sign up for at nanbopfarm.com or at barntodoor.com, and you know, you're going to get your eggs, your bread, and a smattering of vegetables depending on which size you get. And you know, I can say from experience, it's a great way to get people exposed to things like eggplant that they may not necessarily have cooked in the past. And then I've had people come back this year telling me, thank you so much for putting eggplant in the bag last year, because now we love eggplant and we want to keep eating it. So, and I added a new variety, so we have 3 varieties this year of eggplant.
Okay.
So it's an exciting time. It's busy, yes, but that's a good thing. I would rather be running around with so much to do than nothing to do.
Right.
Fair point. Fair point.
Absolutely.
Well, Jason from NanBop Farm, thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
Great to see you.
Thanks for having
Jason
me back.
Abraham with us here on Good